Please wait until the end of the video so I can explain what this is all about. G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope that you are super well. Well, we've got some good news on the Nikon financials front. Yes, indeed, the reports have come out for their latest financial year, ending March 31st, 2022. And indeed, Nikon, as predicted, as estimated, are in profit. And not only are they in profit, but they now have their guidance out for the next year, ending in the end of March 2023, also stating not only will they continue to be in profit, about the same sort of profit in dollar terms, around 50 billion yen. That's what they have this year, that's what they're expecting next year, and also they are expecting growth, going up from 550 odd billion yen to around 620 billion yen. This is an exciting report. It shows that Nikon is strong across all of their divisions. So let's dive into the detail. Anybody can go to nikon.com and go to the investors relations part of that website and download the PDF showing us the end of year financial results, March 2022. It's there for the world to see. And this very clearly points out what's going on. So firstly, let's start with revenue of 539.6 billion yen to US dollars.
539,600,000,000 Japanese yen is 4,176,955,645 US dollars and 20 cents, according to Yahoo Finance.
There you go, you heard it from Siri. That's over 4 billion US dollars in turnover. Now we have an operating profit of 49.9 billion yen, over $300 million in profits. The revenue and operating profit for the imaging products business. Now, there was a forecast of 180 billion yen with profits of 20 billion yen. In the end, they came in at 178.2 billion yen with a profit of 19 billion yen, which is almost $150 million. Now, I want to take you through the results. Revenue was up by 28 billion yen, but the forecast was down by 1.8. So that's just a forecast, and well, forecast to forecast, you've got to take into account the change in weather and the headwinds. Of course, the biggest headwind continues to be global logistics problems along with semiconductor shortages. These are two completely different problems that are absolutely creating the perfect storm for any business that's in technology. I have actually been promised some products to be sent to me that haven't turned up because factories in China are shut. This is related to new CF Express Type B cards. And I was simply told, no, they're not coming. We are all locked down. This is a big issue. Let's read what Nikon says for the reasons the forecasts were off, just by a little bit. Market weak on shortages in semiconductors and other parts. Sales volumes down in DCIL, mainly DSLR, on parts procurement restrictions. Grew mirrorless sales to pro-hobbyist market. Flagship model Z9 and interchangeable lenses enjoyed strong reviews and sold well. Revenue up 19% year on year on foreign exchange impact and increased ASP, driven by the shift to models for pro hobbyist. Now let's talk about the profit side of it. Now profits are up 55.3 billion yen. Now let's talk about the fact that the previous year, to the best of my understanding, was the only actual year Nikon didn't make a profit, full year. They had another year where there was a quarter not in profit. This was the only full year. So the reason it's up 55 is because we've gone from a negative to a positive. So it's the difference between the two. Operating profit is up 55.3 billion yen. Completed executing main restructuring efforts. This is everything Nikon has done to cut costs and streamline their entire business. And of course, one of the largest aspects of that was moving the majority of manufacturing to Thailand. Now, to the best of our understanding, not all manufacturing has moved to Thailand. There's still some of it happening in Japan. and also some of it is happening in China as well. But that move is now complete. Now, that move would have been very disruptive and very costly, and that may well have something to do with why the previous year was a loss-making year, and the fact that it's all completely over means any costs attributed to that have now completely stopped. And I can tell you from having to move my tiny little business around a few times, not only is there the cost of moving, but there is opportunity cost in the time lost when all of this stuff is going on. It is immensely expensive to move businesses. Mine's tiny and it cost me a lot. A massive, complicated, technologically heavy, precise business like Nikon, it would cost an absolute fortune. It's good to hear that this is now over. Operating profit margin reached double digits on restructuring effects and increased average selling price. So they've managed to increase the price of units, and I think we've seen this. I talked about it in a video maybe a year or two ago that I expected the price of everything to creep up, and it's simply because the market's getting smaller and economies of scale are getting smaller. There are other factors as well that will drive prices up, but I think that's the main one. Although we are now, and this was a couple of years ago, we are now seeing global inflation and, for example, the cost of crude oil increasing due to the war in Europe. Operating profit up substantially year on year by disappearing 23.7 billion of one-time costs, such as impairment losses of fixed assets and disposal and write-down of inventory of previous year. So we've got some one-time costs that are now moving out of the books as well. We won't go through all of the other divisions. They're largely all in profit and going well, so that's fantastic. What we will talk about is the forecast. They are expecting revenue, so that's total turnover, to be 620 billion yen. Now that is coming up from 539 billion yen this year. That is quite a significant increase. It's an increase of 80 billion yen. So they are certainly expecting growth, and some of that growth they are expecting to come in the imaging division, which we will look at in a minute. Interestingly, even so there's going to be a lot more revenue, they are expecting profits to stay around the same. Now, that could be for a whole lot of reasons, like we are getting more investment in factories, or we're getting more products coming out. There's going to be more stock at hand. It's hard to say exactly the reason why that might be, but the forecast is for healthy profits in the next year, the year that we are now in, and for there to be growth, that Nikon will actually grow again as a company. The imaging division in particular, the forecast for 2023 is that it's going to go up from 178 billion yen the year that just ended, and it's going to go up to 210 billion yen for the year that we're now in, which will end in March 2023. Now, that is an increase of 17.8%. Nikon are expecting to sell more stuff in this year, the year we're in now, than they did in the previous year. Now, to me, that's really interesting. Obviously, we've got some super exciting products like the Z9, and obviously Nikon can just keep manufacturing the Z9 until global demand stops. And there's no reason why people won't continue to buy that camera, just like every flagship camera continues to be bought. And some people, like me, might even consider getting a second one, and that market will be there as well. But also we will see in this year the effects of ridiculous lenses like the 800 PF and the 400 2.8 TC. These are two high-ticket items in those two lenses, plus the Z9 is a pretty high-ticket item. All of this helps that bottom line be increased by what they're suggesting here, the forecast, by 17.8%. That is significant. But I'm getting some sentiment out there in the internet. People are super excited by the Z9. They think the technology is great. Everybody's peachy keen. But there is a huge audience of people that love the Z9, but they're not going to buy one. They're never going to buy one. They want to buy a camera that is half the price. And this is where I believe Nikon needs to move quite swiftly. And Nikon, if you happen to be watching this video, I'm listening to the market, I'm looking at the market. There's people who love their R6 and they love the new A7 IV from Sony. All of these cameras are sitting in that middle area. Some are a little bit more expensive than others and so on. But Nikon does not have anything in that space, again, when we're talking about wildlife and birding shooters. Of course, the Z6 II and the Z7 II work very well for everybody else, but that is a critical market. It's also a high optic market. In other words, the conversations always come up. They always drill down to that final space. So Nikon, if you're listening, I think it's critical that you get that Z6 III or that Z7 III, whatever camera's in that space. There, of course, is now the new rumoured APS-C, although I think it's kind of almost confirmed. I'm not sure if it's a confirmed rumour or what it is, that there is the R7, which is going to be a 32 megapixel APS-C camera from Canon. Nikon needs to address this space, and I'm wondering if the 17.8% growth that's here in this document is going to be partially attributed to one or two of those cameras arriving sometime before this financial year ends. And this financial year ends in March 2023. I think we're going to see one, if not two, camera bodies, and I really hope that it's in that space. I really hope it's going to knock on the door of the R6, the R5, maybe the R7, as well as the A7 IV from Sony. It's critical. I do feel there's a tipping point, and in a way, it's a bit more of a tipping point than we had before the Z9 arrived, because all Nikon users were waiting. But now what we've got is there's the Z9 camp, and Z9 users are very happy, and then there's everyone else, and they're starting to say, well, what about me? If I was Nikon, even if the cameras are, say, 6 months away, I have no idea. I actually think it's time to trickle out a little bit of information, as happened with the Z9. And that happened with the Z9, what, 6, 7, 8 months before it came out? I would gently advise that we need a little bit of information pertaining to that, because everybody is getting excited and looking forward to what is next, and they are starting to make decisions. This is very positive news. Nikon are in profit. They're expecting further growth in the year that we're in. They're expecting growth in the imaging division, and all of this is super positive. I do think it's critical that Nikon continues to show all of their market that they are interested in all of their market. So that mid-tier, it needs a little bit of a shot of adrenaline into the neck, into the heart, right about now. Now, timing-wise, if they were continuing to run on that 2-year cycle that we've seen with the Z6 and the Z6 II, which, who knows, they don't have to, but if they were, then we would naturally be seeing cameras at the end of this year. So that's going to be probably October. October, we might hear something early, November, December. That's what's happened for the previous releases. It's hard to believe that the Z6 and the Z7 are only 4 years old. It's ridiculously hard to believe. It's been a very, very busy and dense 4 years for the camera industry. But if they stick to that cycle, that is when we could expect it. And in the normal course of events, I think we started to hear about the Z6 and Z7 July, August. So that might be normal ops. That might be the normal operating way. Now, July, August is still 3 months away. Nikon, respectfully, if I was you, trickle a bit of information out there. I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the world needs to know what's next. Just my humble opinion. All right, everybody, as usual, super fantastic to see you. I'm pumped to be able to deliver this growth news regarding Nikon. It's very positive, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. And if this is your first time here, I'd love to see you again, so please do subscribe, please share, and please like. And you know what? It's nice to be back in the studio. I haven't shot in here for yonks because, of course, 2 years of lockdown, almost every video came out of this space. But I thought, I always raise the bar so high. It's always like, oh, I've got to shoot out somewhere interesting. And it's like, no, I'm going to just deliver this data this way, this time. Good to see you. Don't forget, jump on my website. I send prints, original prints, all over the world. It's the best way. mattirwin.com. Okay, we're here at the end of the video, and I want to show you this. Now, this is only Australia, and I noticed because, you know, I look at Nikon rumors and I see other things, that there's always promotions going on all over the place. For example, there was a great English promotion, might have been even a European promotion, where they had this cool Nikon backpack. And I reached out to Richie and I said, hey, how do I get one of those? And it's like, it's just region specific. So this is region specific. So for those in Australia, if you get yourself a ZFC, you can get a strap of your choice, and it's beautiful, high quality leather strap. It really is nice, and I chose to be subtle. Subtle, like who would have thought? And get my initials. There's my initials, MI. You can actually get it in white and silver and some other colors. Anyway, beautiful strap, looks great, makes the world a better place. How can you go wrong? Right now, do it now. Or not. It's up to you. Okay, bye. Oh, and these are beautiful from, the company's called TDE. TDE. I think they do lots of awesome, all sorts of other stuff as well. Check out their site. It feels really nice. It's nice and thick. I like it. Nice to have some good old-fashioned leather back in the game. Okay. Take it easy. And if you're like me and you love data, hang around a little bit longer and we can have a look at some of it here. I wanted to look at this, the imaging products, and we can see that there's an increase in inventory here. Now, this is an increase on last year, but of course they have now got some amazing products in the Z9 and the lenses, and I believe, as I've said already, more cameras that are going to be very popular are coming. Thus, a considerable increase in inventory. In this chart, we can see a breakdown by segment of where Nikon are making their earnings. And we can see here that the imaging products division still makes up 33% of Nikon's entire business. And in the chart on the right, by region, we can see the markets. Where does Nikon sell? 18% is Japan, 24% is United States, 13% is Europe, 28% is China, and 16% is other. That's where I am. Now, that massive difference between the United States and Europe might have something to do with why we hear about a lot more equipment arriving in the US than it does in Europe. It's hard to say. It would be interesting to understand. R&D has gone up, as we can see, almost 3 billion yen. Nikon are actually going to be spending more on research and development than they have in the last 5 years. We can see here since 2019. The 64 billion yen is the highest it's been. And we can see in the image products division that expenditure, R&D expenditure, will go up from 15.2 billion yen to 17 billion yen. More money being spent, more interesting products coming. And I include this chart because some people will have you believe that Nikon were not making profits for a very long time. It's simply incorrect. And on this chart here, we can see that the dark yellow is operating profit. And we can see operating profits, operating profits, operating profits. And then there was 1 year where it's a minus, and then we're back into pluses. That's it. That's the 1 year.